Hey guys, in a way I think I've been striving for early retirement since my first ever part-time job. Before I even knew what financial independence was, I was a diligent saver. At some point that savings habit, probably around the age of 22, evolved into a determined pursuit of financial independence, which if done for long enough would ultimately allow me to retire early.
I too am blessed, or should that be cursed, by the early retirement dream. But why are we both intent on hanging up our work boots for good? We have both disliked the rigid 9-to-5 arduous work environment common to most jobs. Like so many other people, are we both targeting early retirement because of our dislike for the UK working culture?
The basic idea of f.i.r.e. is to nurture an investment pot to the point that it grows to a level where the income it produces allows you to escape unfulfilling jobs and retire early. True happiness through freedom is the destination, and the thinking goes that the sooner you get there, the better. But does the pursuit of early retirement make us less happy? In this video, we're exploring whether retiring early is the right goal. Let's check it out. First off, we want to thank Orca who are sponsoring this video. Orca are a new investment app who have burst onto the scene recently. Orca are giving away not one, not two, but 3 free stocks, each worth up to £200 to everyone who signs up and places their first trade via our offer link, linked to in the video description below.
They have just introduced US stocks with zero commission trading, offer ISAs which are free forever, have a 24/7 support team responding in minutes, the app is clear and simple, and you can even choose from ready-made collections of shares. The figures. Finding any proper early retirement statistics has proven difficult. All the studies seem to consider early retirement as any age before 65. A survey carried out by Aviva, looking at those aspiring to retire early, found that 25% of Brits who aspire to retire early aim to do so at 60, and 60 was also the most popular age for early retirement among those who have already retired, at 17%.
68% of people reported an increase in overall happiness as a result of retiring early, but there can be a price to pay, with 47% of early retirees finding their finances take a hit. 24% who return to work after retiring early do so because they experience financial issues.
So, those are the figures. But when the f.i.r.e. community talk about early retirement, they don't dream of retiring just a handful of years before the state-dictated retirement age, soon to be 68. They're typically aiming for retirement in their 30s and 40s.
How likely is early retirement? To fund an early retirement for what could be 50 or 60 years, you would need a massive pot of money that produces an income in perpetuity. If you wanted a £40,000 lifestyle, for example, you would need £1 million invested.
To build that huge sum of money, it helps massively if you have 3 ingredients: a high income enabling you to save big, massive annual returns from your investments, and a lot of time for more contributions and more investment gains, which compound and snowball.
Remove any of these ingredients and growing wealth becomes exceedingly harder. To demonstrate this, save £2,000 a month at 8% for 20 years and you'll end up with £1.15 million. Keep everything the same but only give yourself 10 years and the pot is just £363,000, over 3 times smaller. The earlier you want to retire, the more important your earnings and savings rate is over the other ingredients, as can be seen in this chart. The blue bars represent your contributions and the orange bars your investment gains.
Compounding works best over time, which is why in those early years, the size of a pot is almost completely derived from contributions. In this example, after about 16 years, that relationship flips on its head, and from that point on, your investment gains are the deciding factor.
Having both been avid followers of the f.i.r.e. community for many years, we can anecdotally say those that achieve a very early retirement, say within 10 years of starting work, do so by either having started a successful business producing massive profits, or else sold a business they started, giving them an instant wad of cash, which can be invested for that perpetual income. As for those who achieve early retirement in 10 to 20 years, often they do this by having lucrative jobs, such as being a software engineer or a lawyer, and simultaneously following the strict frugal lifestyle that is stereotypically associated with f.i.r.e.
For those retiring after 20 plus years, there is a lot more variety. Some people have been saving hard for many years at this point. Others have benefited from massive investment gains over many years. There could be some inheritance, big redundancy packages, and so on.
Unfortunately, many experts are forecasting lower investment returns for the foreseeable future. Past returns of the stock market have been around 8 to 11% annually, but due to the current extreme market valuations and economic conditions, many are forecasting average returns of just 3% for at least the medium term. This outcome would have devastating consequences for many aspiring early retirees.
The problem with early retirement. We don't think there is any problem with early retirement in itself. Some in society may judge, but who cares about them? The problem lies with the process of achieving it. These problems are: 1. It seems impossible. Firstly, as discussed, you have to save what average people would consider to be an impossibly large sum of money. Most people would scoff at the suggestion of building up £1 million by age 70, let alone doing it in your 30s and 40s.
2. You neglect the here and now. Our biggest concern with attempting to achieve early retirement is that the effort can become all-consuming to the point that you don't live your best life because you are convinced that happiness is only at the end destination. If it was the case of going full throttle for 5 years and then you suddenly became financially free, then it's a no-brainer why this would be worth doing. But the reality is that most people on the path to early retirement still have to spend decades working a job they hate, basically wasting their youth.
Within f.i.r.e. forums, we have seen many young people who haven't even left university trying to build their life around f.i.r.e, when personally we think they would do better to first build their best life and then work f.i.r.e. around that. As the saying goes, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Typically, it takes many years to build up your salary in any particular field. Our backgrounds are in accountancy, so we'll use this as a perfect example, but this problem literally rings true for almost all career paths. In accounting, you generally go to university for 3 or 4 years, then you get a graduate job and study a professional qualification for the next 3 or 4 years, and then you might job hop a little until you can earn around £50,000. By this point, you've dedicated 12 or more years to the profession.
After all this time and effort, it's very difficult for anybody to change direction and retrain doing something else, because their income will take an absolute hammer blow. While you retrain, you may have zero income, and then you start near the bottom of the career ladder, earning a pittance. Those obsessed with early retirement, but who hate their career, are being pulled in 2 different directions. Do they persevere and stick with the job they hate for many years and likely retire sooner? Or do they reset to a more enjoyable path, which will probably severely harm their early retirement plans?
3. It's motivationally exhausting. Another problem with f.i.r.e. is that it's such a long-term goal that it's very difficult to stay motivated. Once you've built up an emergency fund and surpassed that early milestone, there's very little benefit of having a bigger freedom fund until the day you hit your f.i.r.e. number and can retire. You can literally be working decades with seemingly nothing to show for it. You can't spend your freedom fund, as otherwise your retirement date gets pushed back, so it has to just sit there making very little difference to your current life. The lack of real milestones can make the journey exhausting.
In contrast with other life goals, with a fitness goal, say like losing 2 stone, the finish line may be 6 months away, but you actually benefit each and every day that you shed each individual pound. You look better, you feel better, you're stronger, and you have more energy. Likewise, when saving for a holiday, each quid you save gets you a better holiday, and the end goal is usually within touching distance. We know how difficult it can be to stick to even a 6-month goal with noticeable milestones, so what chance do most people have of reaching a 25-year goal with little en route benefit?
4. Moving goalposts. Early retirement relies on factors outside of your control. Right now, inflation is threatening your wealth and normal people can do very little about this. Elon Musk could probably start another multi-billion-dollar company to ease his suffering, but most of us mere mortals can't, or at least won't. Instead, we all put our faith in the stock and bond markets. Historically, these have outpaced inflation, but in 2022 so far, that seems unlikely to happen this year.
Also, who's to say there won't be a raid on wealth over the next 2 or 3 decades? Your pensions and ISAs look devilishly tempting to our desperate government, who are struggling to balance the UK's books. We wouldn't be surprised if taxes were hiked or tax-free allowances scrapped in future, meaning you'd need to amass even more money.
Alternatives to f.i.r.e. and early retirement. What happens if in 20 years your life goal has changed and it's no longer early retirement, but you spent forever working towards it? To achieve FIRE, most people have to make massive sacrifices in their youth, but all of this could have been pointless if you were to change your mind later. It's a shame we don't have any data to support this, but we have a feeling that many people who achieve FIRE are so good at making money that they continue to make more of it. Why would they stop? If they can make a fortune pursuing something they hate, imagine how much more they can make pursuing a passion when they finally have the spare time.
If achieving FIRE is too ambitious or exhausting a goal for you, then you should seriously consider some of the offshoots that have sprung up as alternatives. Barista FIRE is where you have accumulated your freedom fund large enough to cover some of your expenses, but not all. You make up the shortfall with easy part-time work. This has so many benefits, including keeping you busy but not too busy, and continuing to earn national insurance qualifying years, which are needed for your state pension. And a part-time job may give you enough freedom to live life more on your terms.
Another option is Coast FIRE. Coast FIRE is best described as investing enough money at a young enough age so that you can stop contributions mid-career and let compounding returns take over and do all the heavy lifting while you live affluently for the second half of your working life and still achieve financial independence sometime in the future just by coasting along. This strategy of coasting to FIRE gives you the freedom to pursue a different job that pays less, shift to working part-time, or just have more spending money to enjoy life. As long as you're still earning enough to cover your monthly expenses, you can relax in the knowledge that your future is taken care of.
Some people would argue that there is no need to retire early at all, and the money being saved for that reason has an enormous opportunity cost. Instead, is just having enough money set aside to give you the power to quit a job at a moment's notice good enough? If you don't like your boss, you can quit. If you really want to take 6 months off to travel South America, you can. This is far more attainable, because even a very small freedom fund should be more than enough for this. It might even be better to have a life that is interlaced with pockets of freedom between jobs than having to postpone it all to the back end.
Financial independence is still essential. No matter what career we were both doing, whether that was cleaning toilets or CEO of a multinational, we would still want to get to financial independence. However, the retiring early part is optional. What you love now might be torture in the future. Even if you're doing something seemingly fun like a ski instructor, do something for 40 hours a week for decades, and that's enough to turn any passion into a chore. You might even get fired. It takes a lifetime to build a reputation, but a single mistake can ruin you.
We suspect that many performers working in theatres loved their jobs, but then out of nowhere, COVID decimated the industry. Can your job be done in old age? As a home removal guy, you might feel great doing this at 30, but is lifting a super king-size bed above your head at 55 still something you'd want to be doing? And no matter how much of a tech whiz you are at 20, sooner or later technology will outpace you. Financial independence is there to protect you from such events.
Question of the day: how determined are you to retire early, and why do you want to retire? Join the conversation in the comments below. Thanks for watching. On this channel we talk a lot about personal finance, investing and all things money, and if you want to see more great content, please click the subscribe button below.
This is MoneyUnshackled.com. See you next time.